Welcome back. We are all in a little discussion about an SMS. This is the newsroom. We have Martin Mutua, Catherine Omwanto, Clay Muganda, Santani Sana for joining us. Interesting story, that one. Maybe we can start there. And nobody has quite seen this message, but there is talk of a message somewhere. Should the media have stepped out and perhaps asked Rugut to forward the message so we can show Kenyans the content of this alleged message?
But the fact that the MPs from that area have been talking about it and they were authoritative about it. You hosted Kater yesterday.
Yes.
And he repeated the same things. Waiguru has not denied. Neither has any government official denied. So why would we not
take it as the truth?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't it be interesting to see what exactly the text message?
It would be. The content would be very interesting of the alleged.
But does it make any difference? I mean, the thing is,
it gives it that.
No,
weight.
I think the
gives it weight.
The content of what happened in that SMS is that there's a new NYS director who has been sworn in. We have the pictures of the evidence of the new NYS director. Rugut has been moved somewhere in the youth ministry, trying to find some corner somewhere. That is the content. So I'm not sure that SMS, what value adds. It will be good to see it.
It will be good to see it.
It's because of the nature of which that it's being conducted. That's the most controversial part of this whole thing, that you're doing it on text.
On text.
Yeah, I think Mr. Nguru has denied that it was not through a text. There's been some denials from either our office or from the government.
Yeah.
That it was not through a text. But I still believe that it could have been quite okay actually if this text came out, because it's the word against it's our word against the other MPs. So for these guys to say like, okay, fine, you're denying, but this is the text. We have the text, So I think the media could have actually probably tried to dig up and find out like where is this SMS, because probably we could be hanging Ms. Waiguru, and actually there was no SMS. It was done through the normal channels, Yeah, because she maintains that actually it's normal for civil government employees to be transferred, to be redeployed and all that. So for her, from her end, there is nothing irregular. But we have to find out like why are they finding it irregular? We have to draw some probably examples and say like, I mean, this one is regular because of this, or this one is regular because of this, and you see that's what we've not done. So we're actually right now running with what the MPs are telling us, and at the same time running with what we're getting from the government. And I think we need to dig deeper and find out the whole truth. Either there was an SMS, which to me is a smaller reason, but actually, is it regular?
But I guess regular it could happen. They move. What is bringing issue and concern is that there's been a tribalism conversation going on with most, of the positions occupied by Kalenjins and Kikuyus, and so now you're swapping, one community with the other that form the government, Jubilee. So that's where the rubber meets the road.
But we have to ask ourselves: so is it more prestigious to be the NYS director? Or is it less prestigious to be at the ministry where Mr. Rugut has been moved to? Because if they were just swapped, I don't think there's anything wrong. Because if anything, Mr. Givinji held quite a senior position before in the government. I mean, is it a demotion or what is it? Has Mr. Rugut been demoted, or has he just been moved?
I think we're missing the point. That's why it's sucking into you've seen today. We have a story whereby now the members of parliament want to censure Waiguru and impeach her from office.
But I think this is just one of the things.
That was one of the elements. And they are quoting it extensively in terms of why she did that. And even the issue of how it was done is also coming into play in that petition.
They've mentioned actually even the youth fund guy.
Yeah, that is part of it. But now it is bringing into play the problems that are engulfed in the Jubilee vis-a-vis TNA and URP. And URP MPs feel shortchanged, that the jobs that are being banded out to the other side, and they're getting a raw deal. So it is their own kind of wrangles that are playing out, and we'll be seeing that coming out very soon when Parliament reconvenes. So if Waiguru does not do something about it, she will be, her goose is going to be cooked very soon.
And maybe that's why, she sent the denial. Why is the denial coming now, I guess? I don't know. Maybe that's why she sent it, to just cover up whatever it is that she's covering up.
But be that as it may, Waguru has issues. We have to agree.
Let's talk about those issues.
Yeah,
and why have we covered, because a lot of that is being said in passing. But do we need to create that context so that people understand, by the way, let's talk about this issue. This is a woman who, there's this history.
She needs to take cue, and maybe if I was her, I would take a few lessons with Charity Ngilu. Go and sit with her, find out how she manages things, because if she truly doesn't move very fast, she will be the first cabinet minister to be kicked out.
Does she need to take a chill pill?
Is she a high-handed?
That has been the word. Believe you me, there's been talk of how Waiguru is very arrogant. Waiguru is very proud. She's one of the things that are being cited here is that by the MPs, she doesn't deal. She deals very badly with the civil servants in her ministry. So it's something that, where there is smoke, there must be fire. So Waiguru she must look at all these accusations that are being leveled against her and be able to really soul search herself and see whether for sure that is the way she's behaving. If she's behaving badly in that particular aspect, she needs to deal with her image. It is not very good. I can tell you, even within the media fraternity, there's talk that for sure there's some truth in all these kind of accusations that are being leveled against her.
Okay, but I think, just to play the devil's advocate here, I think she's one.
Since last week you've been playing this devil's advocate, we are yet to find out.
She's one of the cabinet secretaries who actually were in the previous government. People who are actually in the government before.
Not as a cabinet minister.
Not as a cabinet minister, yes. I know, but she was there. She'd been there before. She was actually, I think, in Ministry of Finance.
She was in Treasury.
She was in Treasury. She was some official.
They worked with Uhuru when the president
was there. So I think probably she understands, she would be the best person. Because of her position, previous position, you'd actually expect her to know actually how the government works much better than probably the bureaucrats. So maybe she understands something that these other guys don't understand. And we're probably seeing that she's high-handed because, first of all, this her ministry, I think there are 7 ministries rolled into one. And there's some of the most powerful ministries, or rather not powerful per se, but which have a lot of work. Because apart from devolution, I think there is also this staff rationalization, things like Uwezo Fund, Women Enterprise Development Fund, all these things are actually fall under her. So probably it could be pressures of work, and because she has so many things to deal with, and we're just seeing that she's high-handed, and maybe she is not. And I think also because...
Are you saying she's
does that sound
You're trying to justify the actions?
Because Claire, you said something about her being qualified, which is not in question here. I don't think people are questioning her qualification in work and what she's done.
You're bringing us
politics.
No one has talked about her qualification.
Because the thing is, the same way when Michuki started doing things, sometimes you do these things because you understand how the government works. And actually, if you don't push, if you don't put your foot down, then things don't move. And when you do that, Kenyans think like, oh, you're being high-handed. I'm just saying that probably could be a reason. Actually, she's actually putting her foot down because she feels like I have so much work, and if I don't do these things have to be done.
But
not that it's my way or the highway.
What things? Transferring NOS director to SMS things to be done. Come on, play.
SMS.
I think we need to find out. I think, okay, fine. We need to go deeper. We need to go deeper. Come on, you guys, we need to go deeper and actually find out.
How do you
find out? Because all these are accusations. How many of these MPs, they're saying that she's high-handed and all that. Let's get even some of our former staff or some of our staff and let them tell us, like, actually, this is what she does to us. Because right now,
Clay, what Waiguru is, a problem is she's facing a crisis of image. That's what she's facing.
No, she's very good looking.
Clay, we're not talking about her qualification or what she does, how she does. It's just that in the public's eye, the way things have been settled right
coming
now.
across
Actually,
as,
she's done quite well. I mean, like devolution, like
which is not in question. That's what we're saying.
Again, you're missing the point.
No,
you're hell-bent in defending that you're not even listening. Like, you're missing the point.
I think being in government or being a civil servant in the previous government doesn't give her a right to be abrasive, as Martin would probably allege the talk is. You can't be abrasive. You have to have some sort of working synergy with the people that you work with, and it's like they're saying, it's not what she does. It's not her job or the fact that she has a degree or she can do it. It's, well, how is she doing it? How is she, and how is that affecting the government and government processes, and as well as affecting the image of the political image of.
I think from where I sit, I think Waiguru has allowed power to get into her head, and that power has corrupted her head.
And that's what Weda was talking about.
She needs to come down from heaven and live on earth.
she's over successful.
She is living in her own world, because this probably is a position she never dreamed that she'd ever get. But the fact that it has come with all these trappings of power, maybe that has gotten into her head. She needs to cool down, soul search herself, see where she's getting wrong, and also talk to other cabinet secretaries who are within cabinet, and see whether they are encountering the same problems that she's encountering. These are things you can't do certain things in isolation, and people cannot talk badly about you across the board. You cannot have 116 MPs signing to remove you from that office. They're not crazy.
I think the other thing she needs is that being sensitive to politics. And I think those people who were against the notion that no politicians should be in cabinet now would feel that perhaps you need somebody who understands how politics works. Because this is a political move kind of a question. She made a wrong move that now comes out, in a different light.
I think then what needs to happen is actually maybe like as in your person of interest segment, I think probably people need to get her to tell a side of the story.
She's been interviewed before elsewhere. We see that she's in one of the interviews, and one of the it's very well used out there. She says, I'm very specific to details. If you send me a memo, you have to use proper English. You have to use the correct bold.
Okay, so
you have to
use the correct.
I have information. She was even invited here on KTN, and she changed out at the last minute. That is for the record, I know. She was invited here for a serious program, and at the last minute, at the 11th hour, she cancelled it.
No, actually, okay. It also speaks volumes about as you're talking about her image. It also speaks volumes about the kind of communication specialists that we have in these ministries. Because actually, if anything, the communication specialist in her office should have actually have handled her image. You get? It also speaks. It says a lot about the kind of communication experts or communication specialists or communication people that we have in all these ministries, because I think that one is something that should have been handled from her office, and probably she's not the only person who's actually suffering from this image crisis in this government.
Isn't she the one who also, let's just step back, so that's for one incident. Isn't she the one who also appointed Mutudo, and the president advised the president to appoint Mutudo in a way that didn't make sense, then the president had to step back, revoke the appointment, then appoint him in the correct way? Is this part of what we're talking, or we don't understand that?
Yeah, but I think we still
don't understand her.
No. The thing is, apart from just her alone, the very many other government ministries or government departments actually which are suffering this image crisis.
Very true.
It speaks volumes about the kind of the communication strategy. It says a lot, because all these people who are actually in communications, they're called the director of massaging, the director of messaging, all these people, there are too many. But what is the message that they're sending out there? Because sometimes you read some of the pieces and you actually feel like what these people are doing is that they're actually massaging the egos of the government officials, but they're not explaining anything to the public. And that's what needs to come out. And actually, how are they packaging this cabinet secretaries? Because some of the cabinet secretaries come out so abrasively. Others don't come out at all. Like there's a cabinet secretary.
Will they listen though? That's the question. I mean, I've seen a lot of communication directors who literally almost fall over when their bosses pass. Are they strong enough to tell their boss, don't read that?
Yeah, that's the problem we have is that we have like the so-called communication directors. What we never have in this country are communication specialists. The government does, because when you're a communication specialist, then your boss has to listen to you because you know what you're
talking about. You give both sides. They see what you're saying.
So they need to do that. So that's what actually the government, it will probably need to revamp all that. If at all they have Directorate of Communications, it will probably need to be revamped all that so that they project a positive image out there.
You've just given them an idea of launching the next function. You know, we'll show up and
they will not launch it well because they will not communicate it properly.
But we'll launch it. Anyway, let's talk about the net effect of this incident, last week or the other week of, firing, Kiplemo Rugut, replacing with Nelson Gidinji. And yes, Alfred Keter was sitting there yesterday and he said, we're not questioning the credibility and the, what is it called, the ideas that Nelson Gidinji will bring and the suitability and all that of that seat. No one is questioning that. The problem is, you fired another person or removed another person who was in that place who had served very well up to the last minute. You didn't give him reasons to dismiss him and took him to somewhere that no one knows. Now the net effect politically of it, and President Uhuru and his account, put pictures, from his presidential account, ushering in the NYS director, new NYS director Nelson Gidinji, and says about the beautiful things that are going to happen. About 20,000 young people are going to be employed. There are about 5 billion shillings that are being given by Chinese. There are a lot of good things that I think are going to happen in NYS. The public completely missed that. No one cared about that story of NYS and the good things and the good stories. And the guys were like, it's tribalism. You removed a Kalenjin, replaced him with a Kikuyu. That's the net effect of this story that happened.
Because I remember the post, it was the
picture was pulled down.
Yes. That's pulled down. 4,000 comments, and all of them were just talking about tribalism. No one is talking about, now NYS is coming up into a different thing. It's a beautiful thing. There are new ideas. There's money. No one talked about that.
But how do you expect people to talk about good things? How have they already read the mind of Gidinji that immediately he went in on how he was going to do all these kind of things? They were trying to repackage him to look as if that is what is going to happen, and they'll pump in money. Why did they not pump the money when Rugut was there?
So they had to fire Rugut for them to bring money.
To bring money. So why don't fault Kenyans if they see the tribalism involved? And that is exactly what happened. And I don't think anybody will see anything good in NYS as long as this matter is not resolved. It will be just that kind of argument throughout. You try to put anything on NYS, they will bring all these issues. So it's a matter that Uhuru Kenyatta must resolve now and now. Otherwise, he's adding more fire into more problems. He has already enough problems. Why does he want to quote more? He needs to deal with the ones that he has first instead of adding more.
But I think also as the media, we needed to break down this NYS thing. First of all, like we need to give like those days when NYS people used to go to NYS before they joined the university. And one thing we've not told people is that those days it was even difficult to contain university riots because these guys used to tell the police that you went to Kiganja for 3 months. That is more or less the same period that I went to NYS, so we are more or less equal. So it was not something that, it did not solve so many problems per se. So we need to break down like all these things. Have we told the public what this NYS, all this new structure, what it's going to be, what it used to be? Why are we reviving it now all of a sudden?
First we are stuck, we are stuck.
Is the NYS being revived?
Yes. I mean like that, let me call it that, because for very many years, for the past 2 or 3 years, NYS had never been in the news as it is now. So that's why I'm calling it kind of being revived, because all of a sudden, within 1 week, everybody's talking about National Youth Service. The 3/4 of people don't know where even National Youth Service headquarters are in this city. They don't know, all of a sudden it's in the news. You see, I mean, we need to break down to people like all these things they're saying and give people the pros and cons and all that. We've not done that. You see, that has not been
Trust
done
me,
yet.
If we don't solve that issue up there, nobody's interested in what NYS is all
and
about.
It brings it back to one thing. It's the communication from the government. It is so sketchy because that thing, they could have done it in a better way. Not actually doing the swearing in.
SMS thing.
Yeah, the SMS and the swearing in and then posting it on Facebook. It should have been done better, There should have been a build-up. Because you don't just tell people like, okay, fine, we have a new director, we've pumped in 5 billion shillings. Then here is the picture. You see, so there could have been a build-up, like, okay, fine, we're planning to do all this. These are the kind of things that we're trying to do. Maybe it's hidden in one of those government things. But
it's not hidden. It is on her Twitter handle. If you read her comments for the last 5 days, she has tweeted over 10, actually even more than 10 tweets, all about NYS and what they're about. So if you want to find out about that,
yeah, but you see, I am on Twitter. What about that person down there in Muranga, or somebody down there in?
But the point is, that's not what. Right now, the discussion is not
the
on
bigger
NYS.
picture.
It's not
we're
on
not
the
taking an audit of
functions.
NYS.
Yeah, it's not that. The problem is that with the move she made, she has fixated Kenyans' attentions on tribalism. That's where the problem is.
We've missed the point.
We've missed the
We are
point. So even
completely
if she
here.
came and gave a press briefing on this is what this guy will come and do,
If they do
nobody
rallies
will be
about NYS,
listening.
no one will
So
listen.
how do you then, at this point, solve what she's gotten herself into?
I think they need to address the so-called accusation, because there have been quite a number of accusations. I mean, this time I'm seeing a story on the front page of a newspaper actually, which is Kalenjin take 40% of new jobs. I mean, you see, tribalism has taken so much center stage that we have to break it down and call it Kalenjin have, you know, instead of just like Kenyans have. I mean, Kalenjin have taken 40% of the. It's like we're trying to justify something.
But Clay, in
I
our
think there's a
constitution,
detachment.
yes, in our constitution we actually talk about
Equal
equal
pay.
opportunity. So equity. So there's no you can say Kenyans. We have to say
You're
which
47,
Kenyans.
which
So we have-
is taking 40%.
But you see,
We can't.
it has gotten to a level that actually now we are breaking it down. Like very soon you'll have to like.
Isn't
okay,
it important for the
Then
media
we
to
have
do
to-
that so that Kenyans have an understanding of where we are at?
So are you faulting the story?
I'm not faulting the story, but what I'm talking about is it's like we're trying to justify because of what I'm trying to say is that tribalism, after that issue of the NYS, now we need to break it down, you know, that actually we're going to start breaking it down. Merus have taken this number of jobs. I mean, Kikuyus have taken this number of jobs. So-and-so have taken this number of jobs. What I'm talking about is that now tribalism has actually come. It is now being
Isn't it
discussed.
important for the public to know what percentage?
It's a discussion that actually, it's a conversation that we should have been having, because right now it has actually reached a point. If you go by those comments, and those comments, it got to a point, the Facebook thing had to be pulled down. Ideally, it was not even other tribes complaining about that appointment. Ironically, the people who were complaining were people from the so-called, if you tell by the names, from Dr. Githinji's community, who actually were feeling embarrassed. You see, it has gotten to that level, and I think it's something.
I think my take on this is that we are treading on very, very, very dangerous grounds. And President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto are trending on a very dangerous ground. The fact that people are starting to view their government in terms of tribes, that this tribe is getting this and this tribe is getting this, something that we were trying to run away from, we are headed towards the wrong direction. And believe you me, if we go towards this trend, it's going to get worse in 2017, because what happened in 2007 will look like child's play.
Can we walk back from it though? Because just coming back to Alfred Ketara's interview yesterday, and I told him the statistics that we put on the Star at some point, that about 60% of the jobs, state jobs, top state jobs, with that story I think 3 or so months ago, had gone to 2 communities. He actually said no, it's 60% has gone to one community and 20% to the other community. That is the key.
The other
The other 20% is for the other communities.
else.
That's his exact wordings. Now, talking from a leader and from a perspective where Kenyans are looking at everything from that perspective, and the president and his deputy have not helped matters much.
Okay, I want to agree with what Martin says, with what Mutua says. It needs to be addressed. People should look at their government like from what they deliver, not from which tribe so and so comes from. You know, I think it's getting out of hand, and I think this is where probably we've complained about. They've talked about judicial activism, and I think probably this is where the media needs to actually come out hard and actually tell them like, no, this is not the way to do these things. I mean, it's that time maybe when we started having what so-called media activism. You know, that actually we have to keep on hitting them and telling them like, no, this is not the way this country needs to go. Because I remember in 2007, 2008, the media had to come out with the same lead story. I mean, was it something like Save Our Country or something like that? And I think it is, if we want to to prevent such a thing recurring, then I think also the media needs to come out very strongly.
And
Yes,
that's
but we used to have institutions. I don't know where we used to have something called the National Cohesion or whatever. Where did it phase away? This is what they need to be addressing. We have such institutions.
The problem with those institutions that they have to get money from somewhere and they're starved of money. That is this for you. So they have to go and beg someone. Yes. So they can't do anything.
So it still boils back to Uhuru and Ruto.
Yeah, but I think because they're actually probably, but not we need. I think the media needs now to start telling them like, okay, fine, this is what you guys need to do. You need to put this country back on track, because where you're taking us now, you're taking us back to 2007.
It is stories like this spotlight here that communicate the same, that there's a problem.
So I think the government,
because we'll come and tell you now you need to change. It's bringing out the issues. The Waiguru one is out here. There's this one. Then you're like, okay, the country is allowed to have that conversation, ventilate, and then hopefully the leadership catches on. Yeah.
But I think it's a leadership that doesn't listen, because this problem, even if we look back, let's look at the immediate past. It started from the elections. That's where it started. So the prudent thing in that situation was come up with a cabinet that is reflective of the entire country, because he made those announcements. If you didn't vote for me, I'm still your president. And yet when you appoint your CSs are reflective of only 2 communities, and probably except for one, Olelenko and
but at the same time, I get very surprised.
So they're not listening.
I get very surprised when actually I see probably MCAs in a place which would be considered a Kalenjin stronghold also complaining about the appointments. You see, so again, when you hear like maybe the MCAs from Kericho or from another or Singishu County complaining that the appointments are not reflective of the communities. So you see, again, it boils down to even to the clans and all that. You see, sometimes I wonder like, okay, fine, so you're an MCA from Runyenjes and you're complaining that the governor is not, his appointments are not good enough. So I'm wondering like, okay, fine, how many other sub-tribes are in this place?
It's a problem that has been devolved.
Or the problem has been devolved.
The evolution has happened in tribalism.
If this is the kind of trend that is happening at the top, you will not expect the appointees in parastatos and other places, even Kenya Pipeline, what we are seeing, for them to do differently. They are just following the footsteps of their leadership.
So final thought as we move on this. When Celeste was there, he appointed people from his own community. He was fired because of that. Then we appointed Tanui. Tanui comes there.
Yes, changed.
Okay,
that was the final word on that. We need to move on to matters of morticians and surgeons.
For me, that one, even before you get there, there's this issue. The biggest issue is this tourism thing. I just don't understand why, before you get to Anglo-Leasing, I just don't understand why we have such senior government officials and such senior government functionaries going out there to lie to Kenyans that actually the US and the UK are evacuating their citizens because of the deals that Kenya had with China the other day. I think that is the biggest lie so far. It is wrong because it is not them, it is us. It is our security, the security of the country, that actually those guys are evacuating their people because they care about the citizens. And when we keep complaining about the Chinese, the Americans are doing that because it's economic sabotage, it can't be, because the US still
But are you sure, Clay?
It can't be, because the US still gets more Chinese tourists than the whole of Africa. In 2012, the Chinese tourists in the US spent $9 billion in the US.
The CS Kandia said they're not coming to Kenya.
1.5 million Chinese visited the US. And you see, this is what we're doing here, is that we're lying to Kenyans. They're lying to Kenyans that actually the US are doing this because of economic sabotage. We need to tell people that actually it's our security system is rotten.
This security problem has been happening for a while now, from following Westgate and all that.
Yeah.
So now is when we're seeing this huge exit of tourists. So is it too far-fetched for them to imagine that perhaps these Western powers are also playing now into the economic game in as far as bringing in
but we need to tell people, need to know that actually that's not the point, because what they're doing is that we are telling people that it's economic sabotage. You're not telling people that actually they're insecure. The country is not, the security, we're not doing much.
Yeah,
But Clay, when 9/11 was bombed, the people stopped going to the US.
Because they actually did. You see, it comes down again to communication. What the US told people, like, if you run away, then it will mean like these people are doing what? These people are winning. But you see, what are we communicating to other people? Instead of communicating to these guys, we are actually calling them names. We have, the other weekend, we had almost everybody who calls himself a government functionary or who speaks for the government. What they were doing the whole time was actually calling the US and the UK names. You see, and those guys have a right to evacuate their citizens because they do care about their citizens. And then this thing of, oh, they have information and they're not sharing with us. How do you expect the US or the UK to have information and share with us? If anything, they get this information from the Kenyan intelligence services, and it's only that the way they use it. So it's not, I think this has been the biggest lie, and the more we continue to propagate it, the more that people will think that they're secure, then something will happen again. So we need to let people know that actually they're not secure.
So should we remove all our tourists?
Should we also leave you nationally?
The whole point is we should be talking about actually it is security. We should put a lot of emphasis and let these guys know, the same way we're saying, like, tell the government that actually what is happening is that you are not doing enough. The problem is not the UK and the US. Yes, they'll evacuate their people, but actually more Kenyans are being killed. You know, more Kenyans are at risk. So we should not be talking about those guys that evacuated their people. We should be talking about like how secure is our country for us, because 40 million of us live here. Those were 1,000 tourists who actually left.
Clay, I agree with you to the extent that the government should not be escapist on this issue and use it to divert attention from the fact that Kenya needs to be safer. They need to put more in our security to ensure everyone is safe, Kenyans and other internationals coming to the country. They shouldn't now go the way you're saying. But at the same time, my question is, it is so far-fetched to imagine that as well, these Western countries are also just playing the whole geopolitical game because of this pressing East question.
Because you see, these countries by nature, they're more or less like welfare states. Let one American die here. I mean, these guys, what they're trying to do, they're trying to avoid another Benghazi. Let one American die here, and it will be such big news on the other side, you know. So the taxpayers, they have to be accountable to their taxpayers. So that's why even when they remove one American here, us guys, for our governments, we don't care. 20,000 Kenyans can die wherever, in any other country, and we may not make so much noise here. But let one American die here, and the other people will make so much noise. So I think that they're just within their rights to evacuate their people. The whole point is, are we that secure? It's not them, as they say in relationships. It's not you, it's me, you know.
Or you can say, on Twitter, it's not at you, it's at me.
No. Well, you need to look at it in both ways. I would agree with Sophia. You can't look at it just on the sake of security. There are more issues at play here. Because insecurity is all over the world. You can go to South Africa, in Johannesburg, Cape Town. It's the most insecure place. Go to New York.
Oh, it's muggings and all that.
It's crazy.
Joburg, it's muggings.
Insecurity is there, but you don't see people being living.
Yeah, but what are we selling? I mean, how are we packaging this? What are we doing with this insecurity? Are we actually taking? It all boils down to how we are communicating to the people. You see, how are we managing the bad situation? Because I think the whole problem is that we do not know how to manage this. But so even a small matter it goes out of proportion, and actually the repercussions are quite wide. You know, like now there's a grenade is thrown in a matatu in Nairobi, and then you find 4,000 workers being laid off in Mombasa. You know, it's how we package all these things. And I think these other countries, they really know how to do. They've actually recognized that the tourism is very important to their economy. And I think that's where also we keep on talking about tourism, but we've never probably realized we've always treated tourism as a foreign concept.
No, tourism in our budget is one of the major foreign exchange earners that we have.
But why do we treat it so badly?
And let's face it, this government is facing almost a shutdown because there's a problem. There's a crisis in every sector, and there's something that the government needs to deal with. I'm glad. Okay, there was a meeting there. I think yesterday the president was chairing the National Security Advisory Council, but there is need to push this thing to another level. There's need to reorganize the entire government to deal with the emerging issues. If the tourism sector has problem, why can't the president deal with that in terms of a holistic manner?
Of course, they're dealing with it. They're going to China.
No, if that's a foreign policy issue, maybe they will.
No. I mean, the tourism cabinet secretary is going to China.
But
they said the numbers will come.
And Chinese have promised thousands of tourists.
China, those ones will never give us anything. Trust me. Those fellows, even if they come to Mombasa here, at times there's been a joke that even them they don't spend.
No, we don't.
They carry their noodles into their own rooms.
We don't have because most Chinese, like when they go to these other countries like the US and Europe, they go there to buy luxury goods. They don't come, they're not the kind of people who come to see the animals and all that. They go there to buy luxury goods. And the reason I'm saying like that,
if they see the animals, they take away the animals.
The reason I'm saying
The kind of tourism you're offering is not what is attractive.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I'm saying
That's the difference.
we need to do more with our tourism. We need to take it seriously.
But I understand what Clay is saying. I think, as much as I wouldn't dismiss the statement where, there could be an evacuation as a carrot and stick diplomacy strategy, we do need to protect our tourism a bit better, because people within the tourism sector say that the media has not been supportive in the sense that protecting one of our major earners, in the sense that just give some stories blackouts, in the sense to protect our country and to protect our earnings. And I think that's what Clay is saying, just in a way, some civic pride and patriotism.
Let me give you an example of that. Do you know that in South Africa, it has the largest shark attacks in the world?
But you never hear of it.
On weekly basis, someone's leg has been chopped off and whatever. If a shark attack happened in Mombasa, for instance, that's the difference. So that's the difference.
I know. So the reason, actually, you cannot even blame the mainstream media or the lamestream media, actually, because nowadays what happens in Kenya is that something happens, maybe that shark attack. Within 20 minutes, it will be somebody tell shark attack. So we have to somebody tell the shark.
Someone tell the
shark. So actually, it's not in the media per se. It is actually even the social media, because you cannot. Media houses might say like, okay, fine, this is a very sensitive thing. We're not going to report it. But most of these international wire agencies nowadays, they actually get most of the things from our social new media networks, new media platforms, because within a short while it will be like, somebody tell Kikomba Blast, somebody tell the sharks, and you'll run with it. So actually you cannot blame the media for that. But what happens is that tourism, in as much as we say it's our the largest foreign exchange earner, I always have a feeling that we have never done enough. Right now, hotels in Mombasa are closing down. We are running to China, and 90% of adult Kenyans do not actually even know how many tourist destinations they can go to in this country. 90% of adult Kenyans know how many national parks, Masai Mara, Amboseli, that we have 55. Nobody knows about all these things. And we tend to sell it like this is just a foreign concept.
Okay, some new information to bring into this conversation. 60 Chinese tourists have visited Kenya this year so far.
Okay, fine. Okay,
60, fine. All of 60.
All of 60.
60 Chinese tourists have visited Kenya this year.
Yes.
There are places in the US which are actually booked until 2015. The Chinese have already booked until 2015.
You cannot make that comparison.
So I'm just
you're making the wrong comparison.
No, I'm just telling you. So for us, 60 have visited this year, and we're going gaga, and there are other countries actually.
That's 60 mileage will be sorted out when Cabinet Secretary, Tourism, Kandia.
Forget it.
We're taking a short break. Let's take that break so we can come back in the next hour. Don't go away. Morning Express, the newsroom. Someone tell the whales. It's coming back.